Hello, guys. Greetings, first of all, and welcome to the final series of Clash of Clans Bandbot Crash Course. This is the part 4, and here with you, Nisha, aka Dev Striker. First of all, I want to say thank you for all the responses that you showed and the love throughout the community. It was tremendous. Honestly, I didn't expect that. So thank you so much for your support, and want to say the continuous support on for my channels, so that it motivates me to create future contents. So let's dive into the last sections of our course overall. So in these sections, I'm planning to basically do my last bit, which is setting up the Raspberry Pi, and do all the installation for that, basically the packages and the things that we need, and then finally deploy. And we will do some end discussion that I might have on my head. And yeah, this is pretty straightforward. I promise I'll try to keep this one shorter than before. I know the previous one was a bit long, but like I said, I had to cover a lot of stuff and I didn't want it to leave things behind. And yeah, so for this bit, I'm going to add one additional slides now, which is basically to talk about some of the networking. Well, not in depth, but somewhat. Now, I'm gonna say something after this slide, which might be like could be a letdown of the overall Raspberry Pi deployment, because it was just, like I said in the beginning, it was just for the showing the simulation of deployment. It wasn't gonna be actually that. I'm gonna promise you that you're gonna have end of the day a bot or our application in this case that will be deployable into a Raspberry Pi, but rather just like for educational purposes to see how we can achieve that. Just to be clear on that. So a quick intro to networking. So it's nothing really deep. To be honest, I'm probably not even qualified to give a better lecture than anybody else who's expert in their field on this. But these are what you see on these slides: private IP, public IP, and elastic IP. So these are IP addresses. IP addresses are like normally you see 4 dotted numbers. Separated by dots. Basically, numbers are separated by dot. And then you probably heard also the term of IPv6, which is like hexadecimal numbers, right? Don't worry about it if you are not familiar with it. This is just for references, to be honest. So IPv4 is currently like widely used, basically. Although IPv6 in some cases, but obviously IPv4 still in like, if you look at your home addresses, like the IPv4. So IPv4 allows for 3.7 billion different addresses to the public space. And so it has like a combination of that. And then IPv can form like 0 to 255 in each dot. So you see when they're separated, like if you look at your home private IP address, which is your home network, and if you go and type in, like, for example, ipconfig, I don't know, something to look up on your network, and then you'll see they're separated by a dot, basically. So what we're doing with this bit, basically, so the private IP are basically your local network devices, basically, that are connected to the network, right? And on the other hand, you have the public IP addresses, which is given by your service provider, basically to communicate with the outside world. And the problem, the not problem really, that's the ideology of that, is that it changes time to time depending on your basically load balancing and whatnot. Like, there are a lot of stuff that occurs, and on your network it time to time changes, right? And the last one that you see, which is elastic IP addresses. Now, the terms I'm using elastic is that because I quite heavily worked on the AWS and deployed a lot of stuff, applications, and including the bot that I currently provide services to a lot of people. Are also deployed in AWS EC2 instance. So basically what they provide is something like Elastic IP. So they take care of your load balancing and etc. And they give you one IP address that it will not change. So no matter how many requests is coming and going out of the network, so incoming and outgoing, so the IP address will still stick like literally to the same address that you left. And that's pretty much it. And I think majority of the cloud services do that. I think you need to further investigate when you make a purchase or buy some, cloud service from the service provider to double check that they do something like this. IP addresses where you have like some sort of a static IP where it's not changing, etc., etc. Now, to come to my actual point is that the Raspberry Pi will not be a good fit for your full overall deployment. If you were thinking of providing some sort of like, let's say, service, right? And you want to use your IP address for Clash of Clans API and all these requests. What will happen then? Time to time, your public IP address are likely to change. And now I did some digging, right? But do correct me if you have any solutions. Do leave in a comment, because it was so much less time for me to put together. Because to begin with, I never imagined myself like putting my things on my Raspberry Pi, because Raspberry Pi people do a lot of things at hobby level sort of stuff. That's where I imagine it. But yeah, there are some good works. Don't get me wrong, but it is fantastic device. A lot of things it can achieve. So this is there's something I came across that we can do some port forwarding in order to use some like web server, etc., and then can get some sort of IP address. But I think in this case it might not be relevant. But somewhere around it will be dead end. Basically, that's what I understood from it. And if you find any solution, please do let me know in the comment down below, because it would be great to find, that you spent some time finding some research that it was probably worth reading. Then it'd be great, basically. So this is from the networking part. So this is why I suggest that you get like even $3 worth of like service. It will make your life much easier, and you just deploy your bot there. And it doesn't matter what application you guys, whether it's a bot or mobile application. I don't know, not mobile, like web applications or any other type of automated applications. And it'll be great. So that's from this side. Sorry to lay it down at the end, because I didn't want to start the course saying that it won't be worth or something like that. But you see, there are some pros and cons, and let me tell you that what I understand is that not many things are free in this planet to begin with. If a product is a free, then you are a product. That's somebody said that. I'm not saying it. I read it somewhere, and I found it really not very interesting what they said. I can find it very relevant. So yeah, in terms of that, I guess you can just use it as a small kind of partial. And time to time when your IP changes, you just have to change. That's all. But that's purely for educational purpose. So I'm imagining someone is just doing this for experiment, right? Okay. So let's move on to the next section that I quickly want to cover. I do understand that I rushed last time a little because I was against time. And I wanted to bring some of the stuff in this section that my eyes are caught up. So you probably have this source code from the previous part 3b. Hopefully, if not, then basically wherever you have saved, then you can open up and post this video. And then once you open up, and then you can start playing. So I'm going to go to this command section real quick, and then to the while log. So this section is all about, like, I just want to have a few words about refactoring code. And one of the stuff that I picked up from the last video that I should have done, but I was so rushing that I missed it by, I didn't miss it, I just said it that you guys can handle it or as a homework. But I think I should have included that anyway, as I was putting so many for loops. That's what, in my opinion, it just came to my mind anyway. So what I'm going to do, what happened is here is that when you're sending within a for loop, it's going to send first index of the item. So the item can consist of, so index starts with a 0 in programming, right? So it goes 0, 1, 2, 3. So first item, second item, third item. So it will be 0th index, then first, then second. So here what's going to happen is that it's going to just send you first index. And I know that I set up low limits here. So even if I change the limit over here, it will still send the first index. So now to sort of like work around this one, what I did, or basically what we wanted to achieve is that at least to send 2, let's say, word log information, or 5, depending on the information that is required. So to do that, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a new variable, which is like word log, and then call it result, and leave it as empty string here. So this is like a placeholder. So where we're going to store into this variable, basically. And I'm just doing it again. I'm not really bothered about any kind of specific stuff or anything. I'm just going to quickly implement this because it was very minor sort of stuff. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this out of this for loop. And I'm going to take this out of this for loop. And basically, I'm going to call that a variable here and assign the result to that, so that all the index values are assigned to this variable, right? So when you finish from the loop, when the loop ends, all the data is present here, and then post the data. That's what is going to happen now. So basically, I'm going to do it in a longer way a little bit, because there's a shorthand we call in programming that you can do something like plus equals sort of stuff, but I'm going to show what is happening here. So word log, word log result plus this, basically. So I'm going to cut this bit from here and paste it over here. And now what's going to happen is that I'm going to leave a little space here. So I'm going to bring this, because I know it is stored here, and I'm just going to paste it. So now what happened is that when we send this data, it's basically getting stored, all the indexes. So it could be 0 from 0 to 8, 0 to 9, whatever indexes, they're all appending here. And then basically we send that variable rather than just save over here. So that's a quick one. And now about the actual thing that I wanted to discuss here. So there's something we call like a reusable code and terms like that, but I understand that this might be relevant at this point for some people, because if you're a beginner or somebody not really interested, you just came to see what's going on, I think. But I really want to talk about this because this is a great example here what I did. So because I was coding, I did not had any plan, or I did not had any pre-script ready for me to code. Whatever thought process I went through, I actually coded based on that logic. And I realized after reading, so this is what you should do when you implement. It's fine. First implementation, you just write and get your piece of code working, conditioning out everything you do. Then you go back and see what actually can be improved in your code, basically. And this is what I do, keep on practicing, so that I kind of like get better position where I am maybe in a few months ago and now, sort of stuff. This is how I see it. So if you look around all of this, and you will see something is basically common here. From this method, I call the post method, and I get whatever like required information. For example, like I split the tag where the command and the tag. So what I'm doing, I'm reading this content on every one of my method. So if you look here, I'm reading here. If I open another one, again, I'm doing the same. So I'm reusing this portion across all of my commands. And you probably have seen on the main method that I have added here. Now, best practice says that if you have scenarios such as this, then what you do, you take the snippet of the code and add to another sort of a class variable, class, and then to your constructor you declare, and then you put in a method, and then you call that class and a method to another class, basically. So you can have a static method here, basically, which will something like say add static method like this, and basically all you're gonna do is trigger that method from there. So I'm just gonna do that. So I hope you get this, but I wish I could like spend more time in this series, and I know it's right at the end, and kind of show this basically. It would have been great, but I really wanted to point this out because if you're coding and I think it's best to know what exactly you're trying to do. So this portion could be implemented in one class level method, or even a method itself, not even a class, and sort of stuff. If you avoid object-oriented programming, and then you can use that all across. So basically, what it becomes then is the code is much more efficient, elegant sort of stuff. So that's one quick thing I just wanted to discuss. So this is for refactoring. Now let's move on to the next one. I just want to cover a few small bits to this portion of the video. And now preparing our code for the deployment. So I'm assuming that you have followed the instructions that I've given, and you are now ready to push your code to productions, right? And for that, what we have to do is that if you recall, we have installed some of the packages for our Python. Now we have to gather those packages for a requirement. So we have to build some sort of requirement when we move to a new piece of virtual environment, or let's say another piece of virtual computer, or any other computer. We have to again install those, but to be more precise, if we create some sort of requirements, it becomes easy for us to get those packages that we need. Specifically, let's say there was a specific version that you have implemented on your code, and if you go less than that version or beyond that version, then there's some sort of escalation within your code. So it's best to do that requirement so that you exactly get what you wanted, and even though if you don't want to be specific, it's good, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So from your PyCharm, from the bottom panel, you'll see some of these buttons right there. So we're gonna click on the terminal, which will bring our terminal. And over here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna use something called pip freeze. And what it will do, it will gather the requirements that are within this virtual environment. Now, one more point I want to quickly throw that if you haven't used PyCharm, or if your PyCharm setting was like that, it was pretty straightforward, and you haven't created something like them, virtual environment, then go ahead and create virtual environment and install those packages within your virtual environment, so that you don't get your entire list of packages that you might have on your global level. So you probably have installed, like, let's say pip install something XX, and it has installed in the global. So these are global level packages, right? So they all will come to your requirements, but we don't need them. We need the specific ones that we have used for this project. And I hope you got this I hope you get what I'm trying to point out here, but if you don't, it's fine. I'll leave some documentation below in the descriptions, and please do have a look. They will really help. So let's go ahead and create. For Windows, you're going to type in pip freeze and then greater than sign, then space, and then requirements dot txt. So, and what will happen here, then it will start to process and set. It will go through your virtual environment that you have set up and the packages that are within the virtual environment and create a text file full of those. So you don't even have to go through each line by line. If you have huge production code and let's say you have used so many packages, it is hard to keep track. Or you have left this project a month ago, you come back, but you have forgotten like what exactly you have used and you want to save time sort of stuff. So this is very useful. And for me, because I'm using Unix space system, or for Linux, I'm just going to do pip3, but for Windows, just pip, just to let you know. So I'll go ahead and push enter. And wait a little. Hopefully the requirement files will show up here. Let me just check the list directory. So to check the list of the directory, you just put list. And I can see there's a requirement.txt right here. And it popped up here. Right, perfect. So it's asking me to add to the Git. Let me see, view file. Yeah, I will add this one to Git because I want this to be available to my external machines or any other virtual machines that I will be working on the cloud or whatnot. So let's have a look at this text file. So you can see all the files that has been added. That was basically part of this virtual environments when I created. So when you and I kind of like begin with in the part 3, I actually created, and if you have followed it, then we probably have selected same options, hopefully. And this is what the requirements has together. And one more thing to look here, if you look at the end of it, it tells exactly what version of this packages are being used. So this is very helpful. If something happens on the next version of upgrades or one of this package, then they're likely that your code might break, right? And now that you have that specific version, you can always trace back. So even there are some security issues with this specific version, you can always explicitly get update on that specific package there. It's easy to track. So I'll go ahead and close this. And this is all good to go. Just to let you know again that make sure you have in your Git ignore that .env files added so that you don't add that env file over there, so because it has your credentials, just to make be aware of that. So let's go ahead and commit. So I'll say code refactor and edit requirements. Sorry. Let's take a look what is unconventional file. Okay, so that has been left out. Cool, so we are sending the var log, which we just updated, and the requirement.txt. That's perfect. So let's go ahead and commit. And go to Git again and then push. And let's push this update. All right, guys, so that's perfect. So we're ready to prepare ourselves on the cloud and getting our repository and setting up our virtual environment, and how you will see how easily we will now install those packages that are used in this project. And now I want to move to the next sections, which is like I kind of kept it because my engagement throughout the Clash of Clan community and all the bot automation community has been very strong, and I'm so thankful that I actually came up out of my comfort zone and actually collaborated with a lot of people and share knowledge, and that helped me a ton basically. And I want to share this so that in future you also get some benefit from this, and this really helps. So let me open up. So when I began working with the Clash of Clan API, when I actually found out about the Clash of Clan API website, I literally came to look in the forum to see if people were doing something. And believe me or not, there was so many tremendous people replying, helping each other, and it's a very strong community. And I'm very grateful that being part of it, to be honest. And I hope I support continue my support towards it. So I'll leave the link down below in the descriptions, and you can see any problems or anything you facing with the technical side. You can come and throw your question right here, and then you can expect some decent answers. Then scratching your head alone. So again, it's a really brilliant forum and always active. So yeah, make sure you make a good use of it, and it did really help me. And the next thing I would just want to say, like, obviously, um, and if you're looking for some sort of bot right at the moment for your need for Clash of Clan, I would say the hot rod in the market right at the moment is Discord. Discord was built for a game, and it is getting daily active user like crazy, basically, compared to any other application that I know of, to my knowledge, basically. So do you have we built last year the Clash stats bot. Basically, the idea was to put every necessary stuff and my experience throughout the Clash of Clan journey into translate that into a bot so that it helps end user. And it's not doing bad, but again, take a look and see if something that suits you rather than building one yourself from the scratch if you're not really looking at it, if it's something really hard. But I actually say give yourself a try, practice, and soon time will come where you build something amazing for the community. And the next one is that I just want to share the site of this Discord bot list. So there are some great community people who are building some amazing things for Clash of Clans, and I personally know some of them, and they're doing really great work. So I will leave this link down below for you to check. So it's not like that only my bot is there, and I'm not really selling it. I'm just showing that what are the other options that are available within the community that you can actually have a look if you haven't thought about it, right? And I'll leave this link down. And these are amazing bots. Trust me, you should try them. And they're doing really brilliant job. And even for Clash Royale, we built a bot too we set a Clash Royale stats, and yeah, it is also doing good, not bad. And there are also Clash Royale Royale bots out there too. So I'll leave all the links down there. And last but not but least is another YouTube channel that I want to really recommend. This is from my partner in crime for Clash Stats. And so Clash Stats was collaborated project amongst three of us. So there's me, there's Faisal, and there's Rodney. So these are my really close friends, and I'm really appreciated being part of this, because I was able to share my knowledge and learn a lot of things from them. And throughout this, what you're seeing is that my journey became more basically more like a bright and sort of stuff. So it wasn't just me alone doing stuff, because you never get things done alone. Trust me, guys, it's very hard. So the more you collaborate, the more you learn, and that's how things work. So please go ahead. This is Fazil's channel. He worked with me on Clash Stats, and all the way through, we kind of put our sweat, I would say, to build the overall market for our project of Clash Stats. So his channel does is basically more of an app development, and I think these are similar type of course that I'm putting. So this is in space of app, and trust me, this, if you wanted to learn how to build app from the scratch and some sort of crash course, you had to go and buy. I know there are a lot of courses out there in the YouTube, like with the high class YouTubers doing it, but I would just say that some of these contents are like really hard to find, and like you kind of get lost whether the playlist is not complete. So please do go and check his channel. I think it's amazing stuff. If you're into app application development, or web dev development sort of stuff. So I'll leave the link down again below. So now what we'll do is basically move to our actual deployment part. So I'll switch to Windows first, where I will install the Raspbian operating system to Raspberry Pi, and then go to Raspberry Pi and actually deploy the bot, and then it will come back and do those discussions basically. So see you on the Windows end.